Don't need to do that one.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
That'd be nice. Haven't yet. Ah, there's the bucket. Thank you.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
I can't go back into my office with the bucket? What if I did the achievement with the bucket?
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
I just need the button. Sorry, the button. I need the bucket to see this ending.
No, I'm still not feeling it. You see, now that you've gotten the bucket involved, my standards have gone up. Merely clicking a single door is no longer enough. Now, I want to see you press this bucket against multiple doors. Now, that's the kind of thing that merits an achievement. Why don't you put 20 bucket touches into door 417?
All right, 417. Where are you? There we are.
Okay, great. Now, go touch the bucket on door 437 a few times.
37 actually might not be in this earlier room. Oh, no it is.
Yes, now we're getting somewhere. How about door 415? Give it some bucket love.
Bucket love. Give it your bucket. Here. Just one?
Now back to door number 437.
.437 didn't get enough the first time round.
You know, I think the copy machine needs some attention. Why don't you rub the bucket on it a bit? All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
Finally. I know how I can comfort the bucket in the same way the bucket comforts me. With achievement. Oh, hang on. That would have been too far.
Okay, now bring the bucket on top of employee 419's desk.
419. 419, 419. There we are.
Yes, this is great. Now the bucket knows exactly what it's like to be employee 419. Now, let's introduce it to door 416. We've almost got it. Now make the bucket and the copy machine touch again.
Yeah, I might have to censor this for YouTube. It's pretty...
Finish it off,
graphic
Stanley.
bucket on
5
copy
touches
action.
of the bucket on door 430. Yes, we did it. Wow, that felt amazing. You know, not all buckets will get this kind of experience. They won't all know what it's like to slam repeatedly against nearly every door in one section of an office building, or what it's like to be employee 419. Buckets may dream of an experience like this, but few can say they've truly lived it. You've given a bucket hope today. Stanley, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, narrator. My name is Jim.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
We'll do it. As you ask of me. We'll find the rest. I'm on my way. Here's the broom closet. We're going in that one.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Incorrect.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines.
Yeah,
and now I'm
Stanleys wasn't
torn
right.
between Stanlerines and Figlies.
I like
What do you
Figlies.
think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1.
Not small.
Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
It's quite a large number, actually, which is part of the reason I'm doing it.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Just before we continue this ending, I will bring attention to the fact that it showed a content warning for mental illness-related content up in the top right. If you would like to skip this, personally, stretch your legs, maybe, for a little bit, it should be over within the next 5 minutes.
He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps.
James?
How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Bucket?
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
Bucket.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity.
Bucket,
And then
where are you?
suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Yeah, I mean, if a bucket was inside of you, it's
This is
a hell of a
story
medical
of a woman named
malpractice.
Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
All the way? That's a lot of effort. Bucketless, are we? Oh. Yes, you probably still see the guidance of the line. I mean, I don't think the heaven ending
All of his
has...
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
By the way, Shadow, thank you very much for the Prime subscription. Enjoy remotes and chat. Welcome back to the public. Okay, these. Oh, I mean,
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
all good. Catch round advice. Let's close that on up.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him,
Yep.
telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Exactly.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
I mean, maybe the bucket wants us to stay here. The bucket led us here in the first place. Isn't Reddy going to say anything new
Truly,
about
being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right. Then walking to the lounge. Then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired. Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home. Here in the employee lounge. Perhaps it's the only place a bucket can even feel at home.
Extremely not. I'm certain it would feel fine in the broom closet.
Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly, the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection.
Gonna get tired of me soon? Gonna say that the bucket needs to leave? The bucket's willing us to leave at this point? No? Yeah, I'll do it.
But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get back to business.
I also haven't gone down
And so
this
the
one
two
yet.
of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
The end is never the end is never the end is never the
good
end is loaded.
Stanley, I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
All my friends are here. My wife, the big baby, the broom closet, my bucket, the line.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere.
What
The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
I do like the adventure line. We haven't done, part of this, like, assumes, because I said that I had played it before at the very start, part of this game definitely assumes familiarity with the first Stanley Parable, so as kind of like a required reading, because this adventure line has a storied history, and so does the baby. The others with which we have interacted. Here. I like work, just hate my boss, some fire, roasting over in the background. Yeah! Let's go on an adventure line.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
It did? Yeah, that was it.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
I do.
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
You can't make me. I need this bucket for holding things. Like me, together. I don't remember that line. It's from the Deaths of Despair ending. It's not a great one.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
There has to be a way to disable this machine.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Never.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
No, wait, you tried to kill the bucket. Screw you. You can't throw the bucket away even if you wanted to. I was wondering if that was going to be a branching storyline there for us.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
Curious.
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
I wonder if the Bucket Destroyer ending has toggled anything about the state of the world for us. I also...
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I also do kind of wonder whether or not going for that ending again is the right... Like, again, you want to test the edge cases. The edge case would be doing the same ending multiple times in a row as well. See if there's anything unique done in response. Only problem is, it's a long time to wait if incorrect.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
I can't believe the Bucket Destroyer is pushing up daisies. Certainly there's a better way to say that. Died? No, but like flowery.
Said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
I don't like the voice of the bucket. I would like to now crush the bucket. Whoa,
Good,
hang on.
said the bucket.
Now run.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
That one's my bad, but hey,
All
it's
of
a
his
new ending.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Give me that.
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
Yeah, that would have cost me 5,000 just for that. This is a different configuration again. Like, about this transition, it becomes a different, completely different layout. Sometimes the hallway is longer, sometimes it's shorter. That what is what it is.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest, and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Get the Figley without the
Stanley
bucket
took
first.
the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
But I can do it with the bucket.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
The only thing I can do is complete it. I mean... Man! It's gonna cost me another $5,000. Whoa, hang on, there's a vent back there? Unfortunately, there's no zoom button, so I have no clue what that says. Looks neat, though. Beware the referee of pain. Help, help. The striped shirt savage is tearing off my arm. We are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and something, and the series begins? Something public domain baby. $500 tons of raw copying power. I am a messenger from the printer. Hello. Printers get a lot of stick for not being as simple as they were in the early noughties. They get a lot of hate for refusing to print when one of the ink cartridges is empty. Do you think that's their call? They didn't design themselves. Educate yourself before you cast shade. One second. The day of ink, as it is known in the annals, for scarcely a day scarcely has a day seen so much wanton ink shed. A baleful sun rose up from the printer camps, when at once 2,000 photocopier cavalry emerged from the mists. The printers had believed them still a week away, and yet here they are, with fury in their hearts. The heavy cavalry was followed by 10,000 foot copiers. It is said that the fields were multicolored with ink for years after that day of terror. To this day, some locals report hearing ghastly sounds of printer errors upon the old battlefield. Ink is printer blood. That means every time you print a document, it is written in blood. Think on that. Printing a blood sport. Vegans shouldn't print. Printers are alive. It's very kind of you to say, Jay. That is something I would be exceptionally keen to do. Narrated dialogue, narrated dialogue, narrated dialogue, narrated dialogue, narrated... It looks like all of these are narrated dialogues. Evidence 252.
Okay, this is day number 295, tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
More control vibes. Yeah, the bucket is an object of power. It has to be. What else has such dominion over the world?
All of his co-workers were gone.
Thank heck.
What could it mean?
I was
Stanley
worried I wouldn't have
decided
the
to go to
bucket.
the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
Welcome to the whiteboard ending. Let me turn on dog mode. Thank you. It's a good mode. Oops. I think I'm gonna leave dog mode on.
Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office.
Didn't he just?
Nothing responded to the bucket's touch.
Hey,
but it
you,
did
the
little
door
to discourage
opened.
Stanley's belief in the magic of the bucket.
The door opened. I can only presume that had to do with the bucket.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
I'm actually intentionally going here as well because I want to... Somewhere both red and blue. Okay, so that's the last one. It's somewhere both red and blue. Where do I get red and blue? I know of it.
Coming to a
How do they
staircase,
do it?
Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Ah, yes, that's out into the... Well, I mean, actually, this ending we can
But
skip
Stanley just couldn't do it.
past.
He considered the possibility.
There we go. A little bit of tech for you right
Someone
there.
was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Still not. They're swift.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him.
To get the red and blue, you can't take the bucket. Ah.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
That was just a transitional
Stanley
hallway
took the door
for
on
us.
his left to go back to the meeting room,
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yeah. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk.
Typically.
But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Without
In
question.
here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
This is it?
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
Sure.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Little artworks of buckets up there. Ah. Jazz music. Sunset Magazine. Anything else in the environment I'm genuinely missing? 00 on the clock. Ah, Bucket, you're here. Hello, Stanley. It's me, your Bucket. Press G to take me to work with you.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Ah, there you are, Bucket. I was lonely without you. Press Z to take me back home with you, Stanley.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
Press Q to go back to work.
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location.
What if that's important
That's
to me?
it. It doesn't do anything else.
What if the only thing I want is water transportation? Don't listen to the loud man. Press U for us to go back home.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
I feel so relieved. Press L to ignore anyone in your life except me. Yep.
bit sad. I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Sure.
You believe I'm real, don't you, Stanley? Press N to go back home.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Press X to relive this same day with me, over and over.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Press I to go home, to work, to home, to work, to home, to work.
Oh no. I'm having feelings.
8.
The bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
Bucket, I didn't know you could be so romantic. You've got an evening planned? Some jazz music on? A tasteful nude painting? Bucket, I didn't know you could.
Stanley, give me the bucket.
No.
Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Okay, haven't got a button to do that one though, so if you could just give me a prompt. Stanley, Bucket, and the narrator in a polycule. Hell yes. Can we get any of the Stanlerines involved? The Figleys, sorry.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Thank
A
you.
good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Absolutely he did not.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Danger! Danger everywhere! I mean, you gotta love a sign that's just like a truism, like it's... Yeah? Guess it's good to be aware of it slightly
No,
more.
Stop.
Hey.
Right there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game
Of
if
course.
not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Alright. Further? I see.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin.
Is this a bucket?
Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Kind of round, a little bit cylindrical, but tapered to the bottom. It looks like it possibly could be used for transporting liquids, maybe water, maybe maple syrup, maybe the blood of my enemies, maybe a nice Chateau de Bourg, 1970, no, 76, 70, 77, because it's good vintage. I'm gonna say it's a wine bottle.
Correct. It is a hologram of a
See?
bucket, not an actual bucket.
Can't fool me.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Okay. Drawing on the depth of knowledge I have of buckets. It seems to have some sheen, a little albedo. It's got a shine, a glimmer, a sparkle, or resplendence to it. Now, that is something that buckets often usually have. However, let me say, if you were trying to imitate or mimic a bucket in some sort of reason, for some sort of reason, the first thing you would do is add those qualities in because they are so obviously bucket. This isn't a bucket. This is a cake.
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
I mean, what is a cake, really?
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Absolutely.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Yep. I just know them. On inspection.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Okay. Well, I haven't seen any motorized buckets in the past. I haven't seen any buckets with wheels or an exhaust. But I also haven't been keeping up to date with buckets. There could have been some developments in the field since I last was in. I mean, I always did think that what a bucket really needs is a V8 power engine. This is a brand new combine bucket. Absolutely. Hey,
You
what?
hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one.
Have I been holding a tractor this whole time?
Is this a bucket?
That's a bucket.
Correct. This is
I told you I know him. On site.
item 6. Is this a bucket?
I can't show that on YouTube. Oh my god. I'm gonna try and use this angle so I can... Yeah. No.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
That's very graphic for them to just randomly put in a game like this.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
I mean, if it means the picture, yeah, that's a bucket, but hang on. It's a picture of a bucket, not a bucket itself. It is a representation, certainly, of a bucket, but it is not the thing itself. Ce n'est pas un bucket.
Okay, you and I
knew
both
it.
know there isn't anything here, and I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
Well, nothing is shiny, nothing has a V8 engine, nothing carries water. that's a bucket. Like in like a platonic definition.
what?
Like it shares
I'm
all of
too
the facts of
confused to even
bucket.
sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago, I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift.
See?
Do any of us know what a bucket is?
It's
Am I
subjective.
a bucket?
Yes.
Stanley,
Absolutely.
I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
It's okay. I don't need any tractors.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket.
Yep.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Told ya.
But except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful.
Quarter on my father's side.
We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
It's buckets all the way down.